Welcome to the WIDA Pre-ID file preparation webinar. This webinar will review the purpose of the WIDA Pre-ID file, review how to assign and modify a student's access mode of administration, and how to pre-assign access accommodations so that your district can prepare for successful access test administration. After this webinar, you will be able to discuss the purpose of the WIDA Pre-ID file. You will be able to explain both the SDE and LEA roles when preparing this WIDA Pre-ID file. You will be able to select an appropriate access test mode within ELMS to prepare initial access material orders and student pre-ID labels. And you will also be able to verify the assigned access mode and accommodations within ELMS. It is important to note that as we move through this presentation, to keep in mind that Idaho and WIDA are committed to providing an assessment that is accessible to every eligible English language learner, including ELs with disabilities. The Access for ELs suite of assessments incorporate universal design principles that increase access through test design elements like embedded scaffolding and task modeling. District test coordinators should become very familiar with the types of support allowed on the access test and make a plan to discuss the available supports with their school teams. Please remember that students should be using the types of supports during regular instruction before they are provided on a state assessment. There are three main functions of the WIDA Pre-ID file. The functions of the Pre-ID file are to 1. Upload student demographic information, 2. Assign student access mode of administration, and 3. To pre-assign access accommodations for those students who have a documented need. The information provided to the Data Recognition Corporation by the state will populate the WIDA Assessment Management System prior to the access test window's opening. Initial test material orders and pre-ID labels will be created and shipped to the districts based on the information listed in the pre-ID file. The Idaho State Department of Education uses the information in the English Learner Management System, or ELMS, to populate the WIDA Pre-ID file. The role of a local educational agency is to verify that the information within the English Learner Management System is correct. An LEA needs to verify all English learners are listed within ELMS and have an L1, LE, or EW status. Verify and/or modify that the access mode of administration is correct, and assign accommodations to students with a documented need. The role of the Idaho State Department of Education is to take the EL information listed in ELMS and upload one pre-ID file to the Data Recognition Corporation. For the 2020-2021 school year, the pre-ID upload will occur on November 17, 2020. All modifications to the mode of administration and accommodations need to happen before the date to ensure the test materials and pre-ID labels are delivered on time. If schools need to order additional materials, this will need to be done during the additional material order window, which typically opens 1 week before the access test and remains open until a couple days before the test window closes. It is advisable to review the Access Pre-ID file and Initial Materials Order How-To Guide to get a better understanding of how to verify and/or modify an access mode of administration and pre-assign the access accommodations. The How-To Guide can be found on the English Learner Proficiency Assessment webpage at www.sde.idaho.gov/assessment/ELPA/. And this can be found under the Files tab towards the bottom of the page. So let's get into how to verify and/or modify the access mode of administration for our EL students. Users require an ELMS editor role to perform the following actions. If you do not have an ELMS account, you may request an account be set up for you by contacting your district IC coordinator. So once you have logged into the English Learner Management System, coordinators can verify an EL's access mode of administration by selecting the EL Student Summary heading at the left-hand side of the window pane. Once the EL Student Summary is populated, the assessment mode of administration for each student can be found under the Access Setup column. ELMS pre-populates the mode of administration for certain scenarios. The default access mode of administration is online. However, ELMS will pre-populate the access mode of administration with paper or with the alternate access mode if the student received this mode of administration during the previous year. To modify the access mode of administration for an individual student, select the Edit button under the Access Setup column on the L Student Summary. A new window will pop up that will give the user the option to modify a student's access mode of administration. To select a mode other than that one listed on the L Student Summary, click the radio button under the desired mode and then select Save at the bottom of the window. The new access mode should now be reflected under the Access Setup column under the L Student Summary. Users can also verify L access mode of administration by viewing the WIDA AMS Pre-ID file under the District Reports. To download the report, select the District Reports header on the left-hand side of the window pane. Then select WIDA AMS Pre-ID file. Select the current school year and select Run. Once the Excel file has downloaded, users should view the column AY to verify a student's access mode of administration. The AY column should have an O for online, a P for paper, a blank for either alternate access, kindergarten access, braille, or large print. If the alternate access version is selected, a Y should appear under the BA column. If the student is a kindergartner, the student should have a 00 listed under the grade column. Now I will be covering how to verify and/or assign an access accommodation. Verifying and assigning an access accommodation is much like the process of modifying an access mode of administration. First, open the L Student Summary. Under the Access Setup column, select the Edit button. The available access accommodations are listed under the Other Accommodations section. Select the appropriate accommodation for an individual student based on their documented need. After the user has selected the accommodation, select Save. The system will only allow you to select the accommodations that are available on a specific access mode. Once an accommodation has been selected, an asterisk will appear under a student's mode of administration under the Access Setup column. After an accommodation has been assigned, a user can also view the assigned accommodation by downloading the WIDA AMS Pre-ID file from the District Reports section within ELMS. Once the report is downloaded, a user should check columns AG through AV. A Y will denote if an accommodation has been assigned. Under column AK, a C denotes that a contracted Braille test has been assigned. A U denotes that an uncontracted Braille test has been assigned. Please note that after November 17th, LEAs will not be able to use ELMS to assign access accommodations and/or order materials. Adding or removing of access accommodations will need to take place within WIDA AMS after the additional materials order window opens. If you have questions or need technical assistance, please reach out to me at the Idaho State Department of Education at 208-332-6909, or you can email me at abennett@sde.idaho.gov. Have a safe and wonderful day.